I cared for my father for 3 years after his stroke. I managed his medication, changed his sheets, drove him to physical therapy, argued with insurance companies, paid repair bills, slept in hospital chairs, and learned how to lift a grown man off a bathroom floor without hurting him or myself. My sister posted old photos of him on Facebook and called him her hero. My brother visited twice and asked me for money both times. My mother told everyone we were all doing our part. Then 1 month after Dad's funeral, I found out they had already accepted an offer on the house he promised me. When I asked why nobody told me, my sister looked me in the eye and said, "Daniel, you got to live there rent-free for 3 years. Don't act like you got nothing." So I did not yell. I did not beg. I did not call them thieves. I went home, opened my laptop, pulled up 3 years of receipts, and called a lawyer. "My name is Danielle Mercer. I was 36 when this happened. I worked as a civil project manager for a regional construction firm outside Columbus, Ohio, roads, drainage, small municipal buildings, parking structures, utility upgrades. Nothing glamorous, but I was good at it. I understood budgets. I understood timelines. I understood what happened when people made promises they had no intention of keeping. That last skill came from my family. My father's name was Richard Mercer. He was 71 when he had the stroke. Before that, he had been one of those stubborn men who treated doctor appointments like optional weather events. He was a retired high school shop teacher. Big hands. Bad knees. The kind of man who could fix a cabinet hinge, rebuild a lawnmower, and then forget where he left his reading glasses for the 4th time in one afternoon. He and my mother, Elaine, had lived in the same house for 38 years. A 2-story brick place with a small front porch, an old maple tree in the yard, a detached garage, and a basement full of tools, paint cans, Christmas decorations, and things Dad insisted he would get around to fixing. That house was not fancy. But it was ours. At least, that was what I thought. I had 2 siblings. My older sister, Brooke, lived in Nashville with her husband and 2 kids. She was polished in the way people become when they learn how to make every situation look better online than it feels in real life. She posted about gratitude, family, healing, and boundaries, usually while doing very little that required any of those words. My younger brother, Tyler, lived about 40 minutes from my parents. He was 32, permanently between jobs, always about to get back on his feet, and somehow never at fault for the ground being missing under him. Tyler had been the family emergency for as long as I could remember. Missed rent. Overdrawn accounts. Bad girlfriends. Worse business ideas. Cars that mysteriously needed repairs right after he got paid. And my mother always had a reason. He's sensitive. He's trying. He just needs support. He doesn't handle pressure like you do, Daniel. That was the family translation for Tyler could fall apart, and I was expected to hold the room together. Then Dad had the stroke. It happened on a Thursday morning in October. Mom called me at 6:17 a.m., crying so hard I could barely understand her. "Your father's on the floor," she said. "He can't move his right side." I was there in 12 minutes. The ambulance came. Hospital. Scans. Doctors. Words like ischemic, rehab, speech therapy, blood thinners. My mother sat in a chair clutching her purse like someone might steal it, asking the same questions over and over. Brooke called from Nashville. "Oh my God," she said. "Keep me updated." Tyler texted, "Damn. Let me know if you need anything." That was the first promise. Let me know if you need anything. People say that when they want credit for offering without the burden of being specific. At first, everyone claimed they would help. Brooke said she would fly in once a month. Tyler said he could handle yard work and house maintenance. Mom said she would manage appointments because she had been married to Dad for 40 years and knew his doctors. I said I would help until things settled. That phrase makes me laugh now. Until things settled, things did not settle. Things shifted, then collapsed, then quietly became my responsibility. Dad survived. But he was not the same. His speech came back slowly. His right leg dragged. His hand shook when he tried to hold a fork. He hated the walker, hated the shower chair, hated needing help getting out of bed. The first time I had to help him shower, he would not look at me afterward. That broke something in me. Not because I resented him. Because I knew how much it cost him. He had been the man who taught me how to change brake pads, how to measure twice and cut once, how to sand with the grain, how to stand up straight even when someone was trying to make you feel small. Now he needed me to button his shirt. So I showed up. At first, I drove over after work 3 times a week. Then 5. Then every day. Then I moved back into my old bedroom because Mom could not handle the nights alone. Dad fell twice the first month after rehab. Once in the hallway. Once in the bathroom. The bathroom fall was bad. He hit his shoulder on the vanity and lay there for almost 20 minutes before Mom found him. After that, I installed grab bars. Then a raised toilet seat. Then motion lights in the hallway. Then a camera by the front door because Dad kept trying to go outside to get the paper like he still had full use of both legs. Tyler said he would come help with the yard. He came once. He mowed half the lawn, took a phone call, said he had to handle something urgent, and left the mower sitting beside the garage. Brooke flew in exactly once during the first 6 months. She stayed 2 nights, took pictures with Dad, cried in the kitchen, and told me I was so strong. Then she went back to Nashville and posted a long caption about how illness teaches families what really matters. I read it at 2:13 a.m. while sitting beside Dad's bed because he had a fever and Mom was too exhausted to stay awake. That was the first time I understood that some people confuse witnessing pain with carrying it. By the end of the first year, my life had become a checklist. Medication at 7. Breakfast. Blood pressure. Physical therapy. Work calls from the dining room. Insurance forms. Lunch. More work. Doctor appointment. Pharmacy. Dinner. Help Dad to bed. Check Mom's bills. Answer Tyler's text, asking if I could spot him $200 until Friday. Repeat. I missed promotions because I could not travel. I ended a relationship with a woman named Claire because she finally said, gently, Daniel, I don't think there is room for me in your life right now. She was right, there was barely room for me. I paid for things because they needed paying. The furnace went out that first winter. $9,000. Mom cried when she saw the estimate. Tyler said he wished he could help but was tight right now. Brooke said she and her husband had tuition bills for the kids' private school. So I paid it. Dad needed a motorized recliner after his second fall. Insurance denied it as not medically necessary. I paid. The bathroom needed modifications. I paid half. The porch steps needed a railing. I bought the materials and built it myself. Utilities fell behind because Mom forgot 2 months in a row while Dad was back in the hospital for pneumonia. I paid. Nobody called it money when I spent it. They called it helping. That is a neat trick families use. When they take from you, it is helping. When you ask for fairness, it becomes greed. Dad noticed. He did not say much at first, because the stroke made words harder for him, and pride made them harder still. But he noticed everything. One night in the second year, after a hospital scare, he woke up while I was sitting in the chair beside his bed. Mom had gone home to sleep. It was almost midnight. The hallway smelled like disinfectant and burnt coffee. He looked at me for a long time. Then he said, slowly, "You're the one who stayed." I closed the book I had not been reading. "Don't start that, Dad." "No. Listen." His speech had improved, but when he was tired, each word took effort. "This house," he said, "when I'm gone, should be yours." I shook my head. "We don't need to talk about that." "Yes," he said, "we do. Dad, I'm not doing this for the house." I know. That was the thing about my father. Even damaged, even weak, he could still land the truth in the room like a hammer. He reached toward the blanket with his good hand. "You kept it standing. You kept me standing. Your mother knows." I looked away. Brooke and Tyler won't like that. They didn't stay. I said nothing. He breathed heavily for a few seconds, gathering strength. I wrote it down. That made me look back. "What do you mean?" "Letter, safe. Your mother knows. Attorney too. I wanted to update everything proper, but..." He made a frustrated sound. "Tired. Then rest. Daniel. I hear you." "No." He said. "You don't. You think being good means asking for nothing." I did not answer because that sentence knew me too well. He squeezed my wrist. "Promise me you won't let them make you small." I promised. Then I went home at 2 a.m. Made sure Mom had taken her blood pressure pill, checked the furnace filter because the house sounded wrong, and slept 3 hours before work. I should have checked the paperwork then. I should have asked Dad which attorney. I should have taken the letter from the safe and made copies. But I was tired. That is the truth. Caregiving turns every future problem into a luxury. You tell yourself you will handle it later because today has medication, laundry, bills, a doctor call, a work deadline, and a parent who might fall if you sleep too deeply. So I believed Dad. That was my first mistake. I believed my mother knew and would honor it. That was my second. The third year was the hardest. Dad declined slowly, then quickly. Heart issues. Another hospital stay. More weakness. Less appetite. He started forgetting small things. Then larger things. Some days he knew exactly where he was. Other days he asked if we needed to get ready for school, like he was still teaching shop in 1989. When he was clear, he was still Dad. When he was not, he became someone I loved through muscle memory. Brooke visited twice that year. Both visits had to be scheduled around her kids' activities and her husband's work. Tyler came by when Mom promised him gas money. My mother changed too. At first, she was grateful. Then dependent. Then resentful in that quiet way people become when someone's help reminds them of their own helplessness. She started saying things like, "You don't have to hover, Daniel." Then 5 minutes later, "Can you help your father to the bathroom?" She told neighbors. We're all taking turns. I would be standing behind her holding Dad's walker, wondering where those turns were happening. Dad died on a rainy Monday morning in March. It was early. A little after 5. I was in the room. Mom was asleep in the recliner. Dad's breathing had been strange all night. Hospice had warned us. I knew, but knowing does not prepare you. It just gives your grief a schedule. He opened his eyes once. Looked at me. Tried to say something. I leaned close. "House," he whispered. Then he was gone. At the funeral, my family performed beautifully. That sounds harsh. I mean it exactly. Brooke arrived with her husband and kids dressed like a catalog family at a tasteful memorial. She cried loudly when people hugged her. She told everyone Dad had been her rock. She posted a black and white photo of them from 20 years ago and wrote that grief was love with nowhere to go. Tyler gave a speech. That still amazes me. He stood in front of everyone and talked about Dad teaching him responsibility, which would have been touching if Tyler had ever learned any. My mother kept saying, "Richard wanted us to stay united." People hugged me too, of course. They said, "You did so much." But not in a way that meant anything. It was the kind of praise people give when they want to acknowledge sacrifice without owing anything for it. "You did so much." Then they went to the reception and asked Brooke how long she was staying. I barely remember the burial. I remember the mud on my shoes. I remember Mom gripping my arm so hard her nails dug through my coat. I remember Tyler crying into a tissue and then asking me quietly if I knew when the life insurance would come through. 1 month later, Mom asked me to come over for dinner. Brooke was in town. Tyler was there. That should have warned me. Brooke did not visit without a reason. I arrived at the house at 6. The front porch railing I had built was still solid. The maple tree had started to bud. Dad's truck sat in the driveway, unused, because nobody had the heart to sell it yet or the initiative to maintain it. Inside, Mom had made lasagna. Dad hated lasagna. That was the first small thing that felt wrong. We ate in the dining room. Everyone made awkward conversation. Brooke asked about my job. Tyler complained about the economy. Mom barely touched her food. Finally, she folded her hands. "We need to talk about what happens next with the house." I nodded. "I figured." Brooke smiled carefully. "We know this is emotional. That sentence is never followed by anything good." Tyler leaned back. "Mom can't handle this place alone." "I know," I said. "I've been handling it for 3 years." Brooke's mouth tightened. "No one is denying that. People only say that when they are about to deny it." Mom looked down at her plate. "We accepted an offer." I thought I misheard. "What?" "The house," Brooke said. "We accepted an offer. It's a good one. Cash buyer, quick close." I looked from her to Tyler to Mom. "You listed the house?" Tyler said. "It made sense." "You listed Dad's house without telling me?" Brooke sighed. "We didn't want to burden you." That was when I felt something cold move through me. Not anger yet. Recognition. The same feeling you get when you hear a floorboard creak at night and realize someone else is in the house. "How long has it been listed?" No one answered. I looked at Mom. "How long?" She whispered. 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Dad had been dead 1 month. They listed the house less than 10 days after burying him. I sat back. Brooke started talking quickly. "Daniel, the market is strong right now. Mom needs something smaller. Tyler has some financial pressures. I have the kids. You have your career. It just made sense to move forward." "Move forward," I said. Tyler rubbed his face. "Don't make it sound evil. It's a house." I looked at him. "It's Dad's house." "It was Dad's house," he said. "Now it's part of the estate." Brooke reached across the table like she was trying to calm an animal. "We're not cutting you out. You'll get a share." "A share?" "Of course," she said. "After expenses." "What expenses?" Mom finally spoke. "Your brother needs help." There it was. The real reason, dressed in estate language. Tyler looked offended. "I'm not the only one." Brooke said, "We all have needs, Daniel." I stared at her. "I paid the furnace bill." She blinked. "What?" $9,000. First winter after Dad's stroke. "I paid it." Mom said softly, "You offered." "I paid for the recliner insurance denied. I paid half the bathroom modification. I paid utilities when they fell behind. I paid for the porch railing. I paid for medications, delivery fees, equipment, groceries, repairs." Tyler snorted. "You lived here." I turned slowly toward him. "What did you say?" He shrugged. "I'm just saying. You got something out of it too." Brooke nodded like she hated herself for agreeing but would continue anyway. "Daniel, you lived here rent-free for 3 years. Don't act like you got nothing." That was the line. I will remember it until I die. Not because it was the cruelest thing anyone had ever said to me, Because it was the clearest. 3 years of lifting dad out of chairs. 3 years of medication alarms. 3 years of hospital parking garages and vending machine dinners. 3 years of work calls from waiting rooms. 3 years of changing sheets, cleaning bathrooms, fixing leaks, calming mom, and watching my father disappear piece by piece. To Brooke, that was rent-free living. I looked at my mother. She did not defend me. That hurt more than Brooke's line. Mom stared at her plate. Silent. Complicit. I stood up. Brooke said, "Daniel, don't be dramatic." I almost laughed. That word again. Dramatic. People love calling you dramatic when your pain interrupts their plan. I said, "Send me every document related to the listing and offer." Tyler rolled his eyes. "Here we go." I looked at him. "No, here you go." Then I left. I did not slam the door. I did not yell. I drove back to my apartment, opened my laptop, and started pulling records. Bank statements. Receipts. Credit card charges. Emails. Text messages. Invoices. I had everything. Not because I had planned for war. Because I am organized. The furnace invoice. The contractor invoice for the bathroom work. Amazon receipts for medical supplies. Pharmacy payments. Utility bills. Bank transfers to mom. Checks written for repairs. Text from Brooke saying, "I wish I could help this month, but flights are insane." Text from Tyler saying, "Can you cover the lawn guy? I'm short." Another from Tyler. "Can you send me $300? I'll pay you back Friday." He did not. Messages from mom asking me to take dad to appointments because Brooke could not come and Tyler had something. I found an email from dad. 2 years old. Subject. House. It was short, because typing had become hard for him. "Daniel, I know you don't like talking about this. But I want the house to go to you. You've paid more than money. You've paid time. I told your mother. I will talk to Reed when I can. Dad." Reed. Marcus Reed. Dad's estate attorney. I had forgotten the name until that moment. I printed the email. Then I remembered the safe. Dad's small fireproof safe in the basement closet. He kept old bonds, car titles, insurance policies, and documents in it. I knew the combination because he had given it to me after the stroke in case something happened. The next morning, I went to the house when mom was at church. I still had a key. The house was quiet in that dead way houses become after the person who made them alive is gone. I went straight to the basement. Opened the safe. There was a folder labeled, "Daniel." My hands actually shook. Inside was a handwritten letter. Dad's handwriting had gotten worse after the stroke, but it was his. "Daniel, if this is being read, I am probably gone or unable to explain myself. I want it known that Daniel stayed when others did not. He paid for repairs, care, and time no one else gave. My wish is that the house go to him. Or that his contributions be fully repaid before any division. Richard Mercer." There was also a business card. Marcus Reed, attorney at law. I took photos of everything. Then I put the originals back. I was not stupid. Removing documents from the house would give them a story to tell. Photos were enough for now. Monday morning, I called Marcus Reed. His office was downtown, old building, dark wood, a receptionist who looked like she had seen families destroy themselves for decades and found none of it surprising anymore. Marcus was in his late 50s. Calm. Silver hair. Sharp eyes. He listened more than he spoke. I laid everything out. Dad's stroke. 3 years of caregiving. The promise. The email. The letter. The secret listing. The accepted offer. My payments. The family dinner. Marcus reviewed the documents quietly. Then he leaned back. "Your father never formally changed the deed? Not that I know of. Will? I haven't seen the final version. Who has control of the estate? My mother, I think, maybe as surviving spouse." He nodded. "Did she sign the listing agreement? I assume. Was the house solely in your father's name, jointly owned, or in a trust? I don't know. We'll find out." That was the first time since Dad died that I felt like I could breathe. Marcus tapped the folder. "They built their entire plan on the assumption that you were too exhausted to fight." I looked at him. "Were they right?" He smiled slightly. "That depends. Are you?" "Yes," I said. "But not too exhausted to read paperwork." He nodded. "Good. Then we start there." 2 days later, Mom called. I had not blocked her yet. Some part of me had still been waiting for her to become my mother again. "Daniel," she said, "Brooke thinks we should all sit down and talk before this gets ugly." It already got ugly. "Please don't say that. You sold the house behind my back. We accepted an offer. Nothing is final. Then cancel it." She went quiet. "I don't know if we can." "You can. Tyler already made arrangements based on the money." There he was again. The gravitational center of every bad family decision. That sounds like Tyler's problem. He's your brother. No. He's your other dependent. She gasped. I did not apologize. Come Saturday, she said. Please. We'll make this right. So I went. Not because I trusted them. Because Marcus told me to listen and document. He also told me to bring one folder. Not all my evidence. Just enough. When I walked into the house Saturday afternoon, the air felt staged. Brooke sat at the dining table with a notebook. Tyler leaned against the counter, arms crossed. Mom had tea ready like a warm beverage could soften fraud. Brooke started. We want to acknowledge your feelings. That's generous. She ignored that. We realize you contributed during Dad's illness. We all appreciate that. Tyler muttered. Here we go. Brooke shot him a look. Mom said. We talked. And we want to offer you something extra from the sale. I sat down. How much? Brooke looked at Mom. Mom said. $15,000. I stared at her. 3 years. $15,000. Tyler said. That's more than fair. I reached into my bag and placed the folder on the table. Brooke looked annoyed. What is that? Furnace invoice. Bathroom contractor. Medical equipment. Utility payments. Pharmacy payments. Mortgage contributions. Text from all of you refusing to help. Dad's email. Dad's handwritten letter. Mom went pale. What letter? I opened the folder and slid a copy across the table. She picked it up. Her face changed as she read. Brooke leaned over. Tyler said, What is that? I said, Dad's wishes. Mom whispered, Where did you get this? From the safe. You went into the safe? Dad gave me the combination after his stroke. Brooke grabbed the paper. This isn't legally binding. Maybe not. I said, That's for the lawyer. Tyler laughed. You got a lawyer? Yes. That shut him up. I looked at Mom. The sale stops today, or Marcus Reed gets everything Monday morning. Brooke's jaw tightened. You're threatening us? No. I'm giving you one clean chance to stop before this becomes a legal record. Tyler stood straight. You think you're better than us because you paid some bills? No. I said. I think I can prove I paid them. Brooke said. This is about money. No. This is about you thinking my sacrifice was free. Mom started crying. I hated that it still affected me. Even after everything, part of me wanted to comfort her. But I remembered her silence at the dinner table. I remembered Brooke's rent-free line. I remembered Tyler's smirk. I stood. You have until Monday. They did not stop the sale. So Monday morning, Marcus filed. He moved fast. Notice to the buyer. Demand for estate documentation. Request for accounting. Claim for reimbursement and equitable interest based on financial contributions, reliance, caregiving burden, and the father's written intent. I will not pretend the legal process was simple. It was not some television scene where a judge bangs a gavel and justice arrives before the commercial break. It was paperwork. Emails. Waiting. Phone calls. More paperwork. But the first major thing happened quickly. The sale froze. The buyer backed out within a week. That was when my family truly panicked. Brooke called first. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was sharp. Daniel, this is completely unnecessary. The buyer walked because of you. Mom is devastated. Tyler is freaking out. You need to call me. I did not. Tyler texted, You're screwing everyone because you're bitter. Blocked. Mom called crying. I answered once. Daniel, why are you doing this to us? I'm not doing anything to you. I'm making you explain what you did. We're grieving. So am I. This would break your father's heart. No. I said. What you did would. She sobbed. I hung up. That call hurt. I wish I could say it did not. But healing does not mean becoming stone. It means not letting pain make your decisions for you. Marcus kept digging. That was when things got worse for them. The house had originally been jointly owned by Mom and Dad, but after a refinancing years earlier, there were documents Brooke had helped Mom gather. Dad's mental capacity during some later estate discussions became relevant because of the stroke. There were emails showing Brooke pushed to list quickly before Daniel starts making this complicated. Tyler had texted Mom. Once it sells, I need my piece as soon as possible. I've got people waiting. People. That word did a lot of work. Brooke had written, Don't let Daniel guilt you. He chose to stay. That doesn't mean he owns the place. Mom had replied, I know, but Richard wanted him protected. There it was. Proof she knew. Not just suspected. Knew. Marcus called me after finding that one. They have a bigger problem than they think, he said. How big? Big enough that they should settle. Mediation happened 2 months later. We sat in separate rooms at first. Me with Marcus. Them with their attorney. I wore a navy suit I had bought for Dad's funeral. It felt strange wearing it for this. Like grief had become business attire. Marcus presented the evidence. My payments. Dad's email, Dad's letter. Mom's text admitting Richard wanted me protected. Brooke's message about selling before I complicated things. Tyler's money pressure. The mediator, a retired judge with no patience for family drama, looked through the packet and said, "This is substantial." That was the first satisfying sentence I had heard in months. Their first offer was insulting. Marcus rejected it before I could react. Second offer was better. Still rejected. Then they asked to meet together. Marcus advised against it. I said yes. I wanted to hear them say it in person. When they came into the room, Mom looked smaller. Brooke looked furious. Tyler looked scared, which was new for him and honestly overdue. Brooke spoke first. Are you proud of yourself? Marcus started to respond, but I raised a hand. No. Then why are you doing this? Because Dad asked me not to let you make me small. Mom flinched. Tyler said, "You're acting like you're the only one who lost him. I'm acting like I'm the only one who paid while losing him." Brooke leaned forward. You always do this. You keep score. I laughed softly. No. Brooke. I kept receipts. There's a difference. Mom started crying. Daniel. I didn't know how to handle everything. You could have talked to me. I was afraid. Of what? She looked at Tyler, then Brooke, then down at her hands. Of losing everyone. I nodded. So you chose to lose me quietly. No one answered. That was answer enough. In the end, we settled. The terms were better than I expected. My financial contributions were reimbursed from the estate before any division. Additional credit was applied for documented improvements and expenses. Tyler's expected share shrank dramatically. Brooke got far less than she had planned. Mom kept enough to move into a smaller condo, which I did not object to because despite everything, I did not want her homeless. And the house? I received the right to buy out the remaining interests at a reduced value based on Dad's documented wishes and my credited contributions. In plain English, I got control of the house. Brooke looked like she had swallowed glass when the terms were read. Tyler left the building before signing and had to be brought back by his attorney. Mom signed with a shaking hand. When it was done, she looked at me. Was it worth destroying us over a house? I said, no. For 1 second, she looked hopeful. Then I finished. That's why I'm not keeping it. Her face changed. What? I'm selling it. Brooke stared. You fought us for months just to sell it? No, I said. I fought you because you tried to erase me. Tyler said. You're unbelievable. I looked at him. And you're reimbursed less than the furnace. Marcus touched my arm lightly, lawyer language for stop talking. So I did. I sold the house 4 months later. Not to the original buyer. A different family. A young couple with a toddler and another baby on the way. The wife loved the maple tree. The husband liked the detached garage. Their little boy ran in circles through the empty living room while I stood in the doorway and tried not to remember Dad's walker scraping across the floor. Before closing, I walked through the house alone one last time. The railing I built was still on the porch. The bathroom grab bars still mounted. The basement smelled like dust and old paint. Dad's workbench was empty now, but I could still picture him there, sanding a piece of oak, telling me not to rush the finish because rushing at the end ruins work you did right at the beginning. I stood in my old bedroom for a while. The room where I had slept badly for 3 years. The room where I had answered work emails at midnight. The room where I had listened for Dad's walker. I expected to feel grief. I did. But under it, there was something else. Release. The house had stopped being home the moment they turned it into a transaction behind my back. Selling it did not feel like losing Dad. It felt like refusing to let them use him as wallpaper for their greed. After closing, the money hit my account. I paid off debts from those 3 years. Rebuilt my savings. Took a long overdue vacation to Maine because Dad had always said he wanted to see the rocky coast but hated flying too much to go. I brought a small tin with some of his ashes and scattered them near the water at sunrise. No speech. No dramatic goodbye. Just salt air, cold wind, and the sound of waves doing what waves do whether people are ready or not. My mother called once after the house sold. I almost did not answer. But I did. Her voice was quiet. If you were going to sell it, why put us through all that? I looked out the window of my hotel room at the Atlantic. Because you needed to learn I was not free labor with a spare key. She cried softly. I miss you. No. I said. You miss the version of me who made everything easier. That's not fair. Maybe not. I waited for her to say something real. An apology. An admission. Anything. Instead, she said, I hope someday you can forgive us. That told me she still saw forgiveness as something owed to her, not something earned. I hope someday you understand why I don't need to, I said. Then I hung up. I did not block her immediately. I gave myself 1 week. Not for her. For me, to see if I would regret it. I did not. So I blocked her. Brooke sent one email months later. Subject line, Dad would be ashamed. I deleted it unread. Tyler tried reaching me through a cousin to ask if I could help him out, because the settlement left him short. That one actually made me laugh. I did not respond. A year later, my life looked nothing like it had before. I took a promotion that required less local travel and more design oversight. Moved into a townhouse 20 minutes from work. Bought a dining table I did not hate. Started seeing someone named Rachel, a physical therapist, which was ironic enough that I almost took it as a cosmic joke. She asked about my family on our 4th date. I told her the short version. Cared for my dad for 3 years. Family tried to sell the house behind my back. Took legal action. Sold the house. Don't talk to them now. She nodded. Sounds like you chose peace. I had never heard it put that simply. But yes, that was what I chose. Peace. Not revenge. Not greed. Not victory. Peace. People love to say, it's just a house. They are right. It was just a house. Wood, brick, plumbing, old wiring, a roof that needed replacing sooner than anyone wanted to admit. But that house was also where I learned what my family believed my life was worth. Less than Brooke's convenience. Less than Tyler's debts. Less than Mom's fear of conflict. Less than a quick sale. They kept saying I was fighting over property. They were wrong. I was fighting over 3 years they wanted to turn into nothing. 3 years of medication alarms. Hospital chairs. Insurance calls. Unpaid repairs. Missed sleep. Lost love. Quiet promises from a dying man who knew exactly who had stayed. The house was just the place where the truth happened. And once the truth was written down where they could not rewrite it, I did not need the house anymore. I sold it. I kept the record. I kept my peace. And the family that tried to steal from me lost the only thing I had ever given them for free. Me. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.